into the dining room today, and I feel like we either need a bunch of cards and chips to play some poker or something. It's not a good idea when there's more wine bottles than people. Or maybe it is.
I know. I think it's a great idea.
Is this fun or not, Mark?
This has been a dream of mine for a long time.
What do you want to accomplish today?
You know what? These are some of the most esteemed wines in the Valley, and we are blessed to have two sommeliers here. And we are going to taste wine, talk about wine, inform the Valley about wine, and we're just going to have a great time doing it.
All right, you want to introduce the gang?
Yes, of course. We have Dr. Sandy Naples. We have Jeff Simon. We have Adam Zagatti, Brian Fry, Matt Frampton, myself, Mark Canzonetta, Michael Alberini, John Miles, and Robert Bartolomucci.
And each of them have a specific thing they're pretty good at, too, right?
Everybody has, whether you're a connoisseur, own a wine shop, own a wine restaurant, whether you're a distributor, there's a specific role. John, of course, has the stemware, so everybody has a specific role, and I think it all leads into the topic of a wine taste and why we have all these beautiful stemwares, why all these great wines are here, and what we're going to serve with them.
Okay. How does one become a sommelier, or however? Adam,
I'm gonna defer to Adam.
Can you tell me about that real quick?
Sure. There's several different testing organizations throughout the world. The Court of Master Sommeliers is the organization that Brian and I did our testing with. It's a 4-level exam. There's the Intro, Certified, Advanced, and Master. And I've passed the first two myself, the Intro and the Certified, working on getting a date for the Advanced now. And that it's basically a lot of reading, a lot of studying maps, and
a little drinking?
a lot of drinking. We call that research.
Just checking.
That's my favorite part.
Just checking.
We call that research.
Yeah, it's good.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's get started. I want to talk about champagne first.
Well, I think, champagne is the last thing I ever want to drink before I leave this earth. So it's my favorite thing on this earth. Robert is going to talk to us about opening up the champagne, and he's going to talk to us about how to properly chill the glass and everything like that with the thrill machine.
It would be my pleasure to start this party.
All right.
We have a Perrier Jouet Grand Brut, which is an exceptional bottle. So what we're going to do, whenever always take the foil off, obviously, but when you're taking off the cage, you always want to have your hand on top of the bottle, because you really just never know what's coming.
Well, because they can let loose.
Oh, you have no idea. Sometimes you have to.
I do.
Sometimes you have
That's why he wears glasses.
Sometimes people take the cage off and then let the bottle sit there, and all of a sudden it'll just fire off. So you always want to keep your hand on it at all times. And then the other mistake is, if you're doing it for effect, you can fire the bottle, you can fire the cork.
You can shoot someone's eye out.
Yeah. If I win the Indianapolis 500, really point it up in the air like that.
Break a bunch of glassware doing that.
The idea actually is to make sure that you don't let the gas out quietly, just like that.
That's a perfect open.
And since I did all that work, I get the first one.
No, you do.
You do.
That was the third take, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
So, Robert, you have part of this company called the Thrill Machine, Thrill International. I have one in my house. Several of us in the restaurant business have them at their restaurants. Several have them at their homes. And it is the best machine ever. And tell us why.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. John has been a big part of helping. Steel Light actually helped us get this launched off in the U.S. The idea here is twofold. It's a sanitization and chilling device. The CO2 is liquid CO2, which when it exits the machine, it's exiting at minus 70 Celsius, which is very cold. So the idea when you're doing champagne is we don't want to freeze the glass. We simply want to chill it to the same temperature as the champagne. But more than anything, we want to sanitize the glass to make sure that there's no odors from, whether it's from the dishwasher or a rag. I mean, we've all been there, right? The bar rags, they wipe out the glasses, and all of a sudden you're tasting wine, and all you smell is it gets rid of that. So extreme cold works like extreme heat.
Well, great.
In that it kills odors and bacteria.
Very
Well,
cool.
pour away. John, talk to us about the importance of the role of different stemware when drinking wine, and just your company is at the forefront. You guys are just killing it globally with your stemware, your plateware, your silverware, and now all your buffet products. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Thanks, Mark. I think that when you think about stemware, a couple things that I always think about. First of all, if you're using something with a big roll on the top, get rid of it. That's from 25, 30 years ago.
Sure.
So you want really a sheer rim product. Secondly, you do have to polish these glasses. And so, you want something that is seamless on the stem, so when you feel no seam. And what that does is give you a lot of flexibility.
You always scare
So
me when
look
you
at
do
that.
the flexibility, man.
So
But that's why it's called steel late.
You're bending the cup almost, right?
yeah, you're bending the stem, but that's because the stem, the foot, and the bowl are one piece. So that's the second thing. Then clarity. There's a lot of glass out there. You want a very clear glass. So crystalline, which has no lead in it, would typically give you a super clear glass. And then the last thing is you're thinking about the percentage of alcohol in your wine, the size of the aperture. So
When you say aperture, what are you referring
the
to?
size of the opening
Okay.
at the top. And if you have a big Cabernet, you want a big opening because you don't want to be overwhelmed with alcohol.
Right.
You want something that releases and allows the wine to breathe super quick. But if you're drinking a Sauvignon Blanc or you're drinking a Champagne, then you can do something with a much tighter aperture, a much tighter opening, because it doesn't have as much alcohol and it's going to release as soon as it comes into the glass.
Fantastic.
Can people buy their stemware from you, or is it just for restaurants?
People have the ability to buy from our tabletop style website, so consumers can buy 6 or 10 or 12 or however many they want.
Okay.
I mean, I know I have a lot of requests in my restaurant. I'm sure you do, Michael, Adam, and you as well. And we sell to our guests as much as we can.
Yep. But we obviously are here in the Valley, and we try to take care of anyone that is interested in the product. So if they contact us one way or another, we're going to make sure they get taken care of.
Yeah, very good. All right, we're done for this segment, guys. When we come back, we're going to talk more about grapes and the different regions they go in, and we're going to learn more about wine today. So far, so good, right, you guys?
Amazing.
Do a little toast, do a little salute.
Everybody, cheers. Salute.
Absolutely.
Salute. I think we're going to have to stand up for this.
All right, Pesto's Test Kitchen out in the dining room. Mark, this has been so much fun so far.
Wow, what a
and
great-
informative.
It is.
If people are just tuning in, tell people what you wanted to accomplish today.
Well, I wanted it to accomplish the fact that we wanted to assemble a group of some of the finest wine minds in the Valley, not including me, because I'm not part of that group, but these guys right here. These guys right here. And just bring together these wine minds and talk about wine and glassware and things like that to educate the Valley on how we drink wine, what we're supposed to look for in wine, and we are blessed to have two Psalms in the Valley, Adam from Station Square and Brian from Barrel 33. I'm going to turn it over to these two guys because they're going to talk about wine and the wine varietals of the world.
Varietals meaning different kinds of grapes?
Yeah, different
Yeah.
types of wine-producing grapes.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so I like to think of the different varietals of the world in families, because some of them are actually genetically related. So the first bigger family here would be the international grapes that grow all over the world. But one of the wine writers used to call the grape invaders, these things like Cabernet, Merlot, Chardonnay, they grow all over the world. But versus the indigenous grapes that maybe don't travel very well. When you see a bottle labeled with a specific grape, it's probably from where you think it's going to be from. But really, the first two regions that give us most of the international growing grapes are Bordeaux and Burgundy. Michael's going to talk more about that, but the grapes that are all related in the Bordeaux family, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Sauvignon Blanc. Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc actually gave us Cabernet Sauvignon. So the other ones are Merlot, Malbec, and of course Malbec has since migrated down south to Argentina, but they're all related. They're all red-smelling fruits, black fruits, driven with the hint of what we in the sommelier world call pyrazine, which is that bell pepper, roasted red pepper smell that you're drinking one of those Bordeaux grapes, right? And these grapes, since they grow all over the world, you get different climates. They can have really tart smelling or really ripe smelling, or really jammy, overripe smelling and tasting aromas of these fruits, right, Brian?
Yeah, and let me kind of speak to a language that probably the average person that enjoys wine can understand. What we look for in varietals is what we call varietal correctness, which is, does the wine taste like we think it's supposed to? That's something that's important for when you're trying to present wine to consumers, either in a retail shop or in a restaurant. They know what they expect, they get what they expect, they're happy. Some winemakers try to defy convention and make the varietals be incorrect and not taste like we're used to and supposed to. That's a really cool and unique fun thing, but it's also important that we explain that to the people that are buying wine, so they understand they may not be getting what they actually expect. So.
Sure. And the technical pyrazine is talking about the pepper thing. Even in this is a Sauvignon Blanc. Everybody has this. If you
Yeah.
pick it up, what you smell in there is fresh cut
So
grass.
when we
and the
pick it up,
jalapeno.
Adam, what are we supposed to do with the glass?
Well, first, look
if
at
I'm a
it.
novice, what
Sure,
am I supposed to
just
do?
look at the wine. What's it look like? What's the color?
Good white background, right? You wanna
Yes,
have
on a
nice
good white background.
Yeah.
We have these perfect today. And when you smell it, this smells like a fresh cut jalapeno pepper, fresh cut grass, and that is exactly what you would.
Get your nose in there, Mike.
That's what you want to smell with Sauvignon Blanc. But one of the other families that we all know and love is the Burgundian families of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, which are genetically very, very similar grapes. Down south in France, they came up. They've been growing either in southern France or Lebanon, perhaps Syrah or Shiraz for absolute centuries, and that grape will come across growing as an absolute weed anywhere you plant it. But the pepper smell in that does not come across as the vegetable; it comes across as the cooking spice pepper. So, totally different big wine word rotundum.
Well, let's
Whoa,
figure out
man.
where do some of these other grapes come from, Michael?
Well, you know, there's many great. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more countries in this world that grow grapes that don't. The top 4 producing grape countries, obviously, are Italy, France, and they're always having their little war together between the two of them. You have Spain and you have the United States as well, and we're proud to see the United States breaking through into the top 4 as well. Italy, like in 2018, produced, I think, 54,000 hectoliters, which I guess in layman's terms would be like 1.4 million gallons of wine.
Wow.
The United States was a close fourth, but not that close, at like around 640,000. The varietals that are indigenous of these particular countries are what's really cool because a lot of them overlap, like we were talking before. But I guess the real question is, why these countries are producing so much wine? What makes these wines at the top of the list that makes them so in demand? It's obviously geographical location, it's weather, it's the soil, it's the vinification, which this is the magic from the vintner, the winemaker, that what he does as far as that's concerned. Geographical location, it's like Kevin Zarelli said, you're not going to grow oranges, in May, so don't.
And that's a great guy to refer to because he's got a great book, right?
Absolutely. You're not going to try to grow oranges in Maine, so why try to grow grapes in the North Pole? Okay, so very, very appropriately said. When we talk about location, we talk about, the length of the growing season, the angle of the sun, the sunlight itself. We talk about the soil and the rainfall. And, we'll get to soil in a second, but soil is the biggest part of winemaking, in my personal opinion. I think it's
the terroir.
I think it's the terroir.
deal.
Red grapes have a tendency to flourish better in warmer climates as opposed to the white grape, which flourishes in warm climates as well, but just they like a little bit of coolness around them. They like the AC, like Pesto does right here.
Give me one more good point in like 30 seconds.
The best point is there's so many great wines out there, so many great varietals and grapes out there. Whatever you like is good wine. So whatever country it comes from, if you like it, it's good wine.
Good stuff. All right.
Brother.
Anybody hungry?
Yeah.
We got to pair this wine with some food, and we'll do that right after this commercial break.
Absolutely. All right.
Look at the spread here at the dining room table outside of Pesto's Test Kitchen. Mark, what do we have here?
Well,
this is great.
With all these great wines and all these great minds, you have to have some great food to go with it. So we have really an explosion of flavor with cheese and cured meats, charcuterie over there. You have some great cheeses over here. You have a DOP Parmigiano Reggiano and a DOP Pecorino. You have a great blue cheese from North Cal, Point Reyes blue cheese. So you have some great salumis over there, whether it's a Saucy Sun from France, whether you have some Sorpresa from Italy. We have some really the king of red crab because there's 3 levels of red crab. So this is the red king crab leg, and you have some U8 shrimp. So these are just some examples. Of course, we have some cubes of bread to soak up some of the wine and things like that. But these are just some of the examples of some of the pairings that can go with these wines. And I'm going to elaborate and say, hey, I love prosciutto di Parma with champagne and Parmigiano Reggiano.
Yeah. Does anybody remember when it was just called salami? Okay, I'm just checking. How about you, Matthew?
Well,
If you had to pick.
yeah, with the spread here, blue cheese with Sauterne, which is a sweet French wine.
Yeah.
And then
What about ice vine?
Ice Vine would be fantastic. Also, a personal favorite of mine is a real buttery Chardonnay with a big, like a strip steak, or yes,
We're gonna have some of that later. We're gonna have some of that later. Brian, go.
Yeah, well, I'm a big champagne bubbles person, and goat cheese and champagne pair together.
Nice.
The acidity of the goat cheese and the vivaciousness of the champagne is just a wonderful thing. We also have an awesome Barolo. Barolo with any of the Italian meats to me.
Oh, it's
you
perfect.
can go across the board to make it easy for people. If you like Italian meats, get yourself a bottle of Barolo. You can be pretty happy.
How about you, Adam?
But guys, acidity is the key. So shellfish, we've got some shrimp, some crab. You can't go wrong with a good Chablis or a dry Alsatian Riesling or an Australian Riesling, even a German sweet Riesling. But
What about a
acidity
Gewürz,
and
Adam?
shellfish. Gewürztraminer, I would do that if you cooked the shrimp, yeah, because you get like a nice sauce with it.
Nice.
Depends on the
Okay.
sauce, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Keep it going, Jeff.
I think that rosé champagne is the most versatile of all alcoholic drinks. I can have it at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
I can have it.
That's the best time to have it.
Midnight before I go to bed. It's low in sugar, low in
Looking at
alcohol,
me at 10
relatively
o'clock.
speaking. It goes with everything on this table. You can drink it with steak or just by itself.
Nice.
It's a party in a bottle. I love it.
About 40 seconds left. Doc, keep it going.
Yeah, everyone thinks right away you got to go with the white wine with the fish, but honestly, the balance of some of these wines, like the Pinot Noir here, and actually this Barolo is kind of light on its feet. I think it can go with pretty much anything on the table.
Good.
Personal favorite is Sauterne and seared foie gras.
Roberto, go.
You know where I'm going. I'm going northeast Italy. If we were there with this salumi tray with prosciutto Sandaniele, we would be drinking Friulano.
Yes.
They are such a perfect pair. They go together beautifully. So a great white wine with the salumi for me.
John and Michael, real quick.
Everyone, deep breath in.
Uh-huh.
Smell the lamb in the oven. You know.
Oh,
Nice, nice. And Michael?
Quickly, you know what I like? I just got out of the woods, love to do a little bit of hunting, so you give me the most noble grape to me in my life is Nebbiolo. So give me a nice Barolo with a smoked venison tenderloin.
Wow.
And I'm right where I need to be.
wow. Yeah, money.
Happy New Year.
All right, guys. Happy New Year.
Good job.
Like what?
Double head.
Cheers.